He's got 300,000 subscribers on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. He's an autistic influencer, the best-selling author of Autism for Adults. This week, I'm talking to Daniel Jones about being an ADHDer and an Aspie. We both share far too much information, apologise way too much, talk too fast, and those of you who are subscribed to the Patron part are in for a real treat, I think, because for various reasons we recorded the main part and then the Patron part separately on different days. And once we know each other a little bit, the difference in flow is remarkable, I think. Have a listen to both and then come back and let us know. Enjoy. You are listening to Adulting with Ebony. Season 7 brings together neurodiversity, human design, and embodiment so that Gen X or millennial misfits and late diagnosed neurospices become empowered, embodied, and fully expressed. This is the show where I actively encourage you to feel your feelings rather than think them. Glow up, not grow up, and become full of yourself. Because who the fuck else should you be full of? Each week, I have real and raw conversations about what it takes to be fully resourced and have happy, healthy, intimate relationships as a dopamine deficient adult wanting to create a better future by being the change that you want to see in the world. I am your host, Ebony Allard, aka Ebony Alchemy, a late diagnosed ADHDer, combined type and Asperger's in case you like specifics, artist, mystic, and self-actualization facilitator. I'm an international award-winning multiple brain integration technique master coach with special interest in embodied human design for neurodivergence. I've been in the personal development, creativity, and entrepreneurship spaces all of my life. And as a 5'2" emotional manifesting generator with a left angle cross of distraction, I am here to help you know what to trust and what to tune out. Each week, I share relatable, practical ways that mean you get to take less responsibility for more reward and safely remove your camouflage for more belonging, acceptance, and fulfillment. Ready? Let's go. You may or may not have seen that I am currently crowdfunding a Kickstarter campaign for the Kismet Codes Oracle deck. Now, this campaign is live until the 24th of February, and at that point, if we are 100% funded, then the project will go ahead and your money will be taken. No money will be taken before then, but you're making a pledge to pay that money on the 24th of Feb, and then the cards will come to life. I am currently squirreling away, getting all of the artwork and the guidebook completed. So if you haven't yet made a pledge, please, please do. These cards are going to be and are epic. 64 cards of the Gene Keys, Human Design, Gates, and Kismet codes, all tied in together with beautiful illustrations and words from me. On the Kickstarter, the decks are £45 each. When they retail, they'll be 54. So come support the project. Hey, Dan.
Hello.
I'm actually really excited about this conversation, and
Oh.
might be one of those conversations that only people who can talk really fast and listen really fast.
Yay! I am, honestly. I get in trouble all the time. I was like, slow down.
Me too. Now, I found your content because there is not a huge amount out there for ADHDers, and there isn't a huge amount out there, particularly for Aspies. And a lot of the autistic content I love, and also it doesn't quite hit me in the same way. Like some people's stuff, particularly when they're ADHDers, I'm like, we are the same.
Yeah.
And I only got diagnosed 2 years ago. No, a year ago, but kind of started thinking about it 2 years ago. And so I've spent most of my life not helping other people with get their diagnosis and understand themselves, but never thinking it could possibly be related to me. And when I went into the diagnosis process, at first, the first person who assessed me said, "You're just very, very intelligent, highly creative, and a little bit bipolar." And it was online.
A little bit.
Yeah, and I hung up on them. And then the company got back in touch with me and was like, "We're really sorry. Can we make this better?" And I was like, yes, but not right now. Like, leave me the fuck alone. I have to process what just happened. Also, that was the most probing, horrific conversation I've ever had with anyone, and now you want me to be okay about it. What?
Okay, no, man.
So anyway, processed all of that, and now have Aspie ADHD diagnosis, and my whole life makes sense. And I wanted to talk to you because you're one of the few people out there who are talking about this intersection. So yeah, hi.
Hello. Well, it's interesting. I can totally get what you're saying, and your story isn't independent. Like I think like so many people have this kind of like especially women. Women go through a diagnosis process. They guess what? You're bipolar, and you might have ADHD, and that's it. Like, get out. And it's like, well, that's not really what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, and so I think, and there's been a big turning point in that recently. So yes, I totally understand what you're saying, and your journey is much like many others in a similar situation. So I can see how that came about. I love your tattoos on your hands. I love it
Thanks.
because I'm getting some tattooed on my hands as well. So get my kids' names tattooed on my hands.
Oh, have you got kids with 4 letters or 5 letters? How
I
is that
do.
going?
It's four letters each. Yeah, so they'll fit perfectly on it.
You can't have any more then because you will have run out of hands.
No, I'm actually having a procedure next week to stop me having any more.
Excellent. Okay. Well, that was, we'll get into the personal far too much.
I was fine. It's fine.
No, for sure. It's just how it works. I want a caveat, because I always want a caveat, the thing about bipolar, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with being bipolar, in my
No.
opinion. And I think there's a lot of, particularly women, who are assessed by men who are like, you are
Mm.
not the same all month, therefore you're bipolar. It's like, no, I just have an awful, like I have this range and I have this cycle that is not the same. But I think I see, like, it's particularly hard, the not being the same when people
Hmm.
are autistic. And when it's you, right? Like, one of the things I have struggled with the most in being an adult is, how do I be myself when myself changes all month?
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Like, how do you be your eccentric? Sorry, um, how do you be your most authentic self when you don't know what your most authentic self is because it's like black and white constantly?
And it's changing. And I see that a lot. Like, the personal development world is very much like, be yourself, be yourself. And then
Mm.
the neurodivergent thing is, but but which version of me is that? Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the Aspie bit is like, but I want to be telling you the truth all of the time. And I
yeah.
might not be telling you the truth because I'm not the same person as I was yesterday. And now I'm really concerned that I'm not telling you everything.
It's interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So,
Um, in this show, we look at adulting and what it really means to be an adult versus just being a grown up. And
mhm.
I'm curious for you, what stands out? Like, what does it mean to be a kick-ass and kind of healthy, happy adult?
That's a tall order for anybody. Being healthy is difficult sometimes. Being kick-ass and kind is easy because you say, look, I'm just going to do the best I can, help as many people as I want to help because I don't want to be an asshole, and then that's easy, right? But everything else is really subjective and kind of difficult, especially when you're juggling many things. Now, I have this scale that I created, and I haven't published it yet, but I'm going to publish it. It's a scale. It's an autism scale from being like a tiny kid, like a toddler, to being like an adult, right? And it's broken up to three sections. You've got the primary one, which is like when you're a kid, you're a toddler. When you're first born, you're trying all these things out. Everything's new. So you've never tasted food before, never breathed air before, all this kind of shit's brand new, and you're like a new being on earth. And you're like, wow, all this shit. But it's really difficult because when you're on the autism spectrum, that's the most intense it's going to be currently because like you've never experienced things before, and those things are brand new. So not only do you have to do life, you have to do life with a developmental neurological condition that's also impairing that. So that's quite intense. So you'll see children being very intense and all these things. Then you get to the teenage years. You've already figured out life, as in like you know how to breathe, you know how to drink, you know how to go to the toilet. You may have relationships, you have friends, you do all this kind of stuff, but you have no major responsibilities. So you kind of coast a little bit. So teenage autism to young adult autism is quite an easier time because there's no added pressure from external stimuli, from reality of life. You have your neurological differences that you can deal with, but you can manage because that's all you have to manage. Your clothes are taken care of. Your meals are taken care of. Your parents have got a house you're living in. You know, you could just goof about with your friends and dick about for like 10 hours a day. Well, as you move into adulthood and you have mortgage, a wife or a husband, you have children, you have car payments, you have a business, you have a boss, you have these these are all new pressures that mimic the reality from primary one, which when you were a kid. So you have two episodes of primary one when you're a toddler or a child, and when you're an adult, when you've just come into adulthood, which is what you're talking about, like actually being adulting. But in the middle, you have nothing, which is like primary zero. So you have no, there's no issues here in the middle, no major issues because there's no external pressure. So being an adult is like being a kid. Everything is new for the first time. You've never had bills before. You've never had a mortgage before. These things are fucking scary. You never had to take care of little tiny humans before. It's like, holy shit, what are we doing with these kids? Then you have to sink or swim, just like you did when you were a kid. The only difference is now we have mental cognition. When we're an adult, we have a mental ability to say, do you know what, I'm not going to do life today. I'm going to sit in my pajamas, watch Netflix, and smash an entire tub of ice cream, which doesn't do anybody any good. When you're a kid, you have no choice but to survive, keep going forward, urge yourself towards existence because you have to survive. If you stop breathing, you die. And you can't do that when you're a kid. So we need to take a lesson from being a kid to apply it to adult life. You can't just stop. You've got to imagine it like this. I've burnt all bridges behind me. I have to go forward. I have to push myself forward. Because when you do that, you're urging yourself towards an existence of competent succession. If you want to do something, you have a goal, you have children you have to take care of. Yes, it's going to be stressful, but life is going to be hard work because it's so rewarding. You never get anything sitting on your ass. Like I always say, look, anything that's worth having should be hard work. People give me shit about this all the time, but I strongly believe in this because, and I say, well, no, it's just reality. You know, life is going to be hard because it's so rewarding. I'm so blessed to be alive. I can breathe. It's something that's denied to many people, right?
Yeah.
However, people will say, oh, you know, this, that, and the, but they feel like everybody owes them something. Nobody owes you shit. You're here for a purpose. The universe has given you abundant life. Do with it what it wants you to do, and that's everything you can possibly do to your ability. I'm not saying that you're not going to have mental health struggles. I'm not saying you have neurological struggles. All struggles are real, and they're real things that are going to impact you on a mega scale daily. I'm a living example of this. I have up and down days like a flipping, crazy guys yo-yo. But that being said, my core values still stay the same. I'm going to win this game because everything in life is a game. Life itself is a game. And you have two opposing sides and you want to win, right? How do you win a game? You don't complain about the rules. You don't complain about the situations. You figure out how to play the game better, don't you? If you wanted to be the best at basketball, you figure out how to be better at basketball. If you want to be the best at baseball, you figure out the best at baseball. If you want to be the best card player in the world, you figure it out. You learn more. And that's what we need to do to apply to life.
I love this philosophy. And obviously my brain is going, that middle bit was not the easy bit for me. What are you talking about? That middle bit is where I went and tried all the things because there were options, right? And like you described this wonderful bit in the middle where there's no new stuff. I don't know whether it's my ADHD or the way that I was brought up, but there was so much new stuff in that middle bit.
Less pressure is what I mean. You
Yeah.
have society. You'll have societal pressure, like social pressure. You'll be like, "Hey, we're all having sex because they're all teenagers. Oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, I have pressure now. Oh, hey, um, we have to buy this leather jacket because we all look cool if we have that jacket." Okay, you get pressures, right? You'll have societal pressures from social groups. What you don't have is life dependent pressures. Like I have a child. Oh my God, I'm going to be evicted from my home if I don't pay my mortgage. You see what I'm trying to say? The same kind of the same non-societal pressures you had when you were a child. I had to learn to breathe and eat, otherwise I'm going to die. So we go down to what we have is binary survivals pieces. One that's created because of the bondage, if you like, that we live in, where we have bills, we have responsibilities, we have those things, children. But it's the same effect as a binary life existence. Like I have to learn how to do these things or else I'm going to die or I won't survive. Basically, I'll say that. I won't survive if I don't do these things. Same as being an adult with those pressures. I won't survive. When you're a teenager, if you didn't do those things, you'd still survive. And that's what I meant. I'm not saying it's rosy. I'm saying that the pressures are different or the experience is different. Yeah.
That helps. and is interesting. And I think it's interesting because for a lot of people, and I can't be the only one, and what I see when people come and work with me, so we're actually trying to create an environment of safety in the body and work with their nervous system, and so they feel safer, right? But feeling safer and being calm in the body is not always wanted. And so actually, when I hear what you're saying and then I look back at my life and my teenage period, I can be like, actually, I added in all of these things to my life because it was really scary for there to be no pressure. So I fucking added all this pressure by getting myself into loads of trouble, taking drugs, jumping out of cars, sleeping with random, like all of this stuff, because the chaos in my system felt unsafe.
There's an analogy for this. This is something a man who has no problems is an unhappy man.
Yes.
Right? Kind of along the same lines as, if you want a task done properly, give it to a busy person, right? And it comes down to something that the Buddha said, right? I don't know if you know anything about Buddhist philosophy, but the Buddha, Bodhisattva, he said, a man who has 10 friends has 10 problems, but a man who has no friends has no problems. But if we picture a life, if those are the rules of life, if we picture a life without any problems, what does that look like? It's a life without any friends. What's a life without any friends? It's a sad and unhappy existence, right? So we as human beings, we create problems when we have none to keep our minds engaged in reality so that we don't lose our head. That's the basic psychology of it. And it's such a fascinating idea. If you had one issue, right? Say you were like, oh, I've sprained my ankle. The whole weekend's ruined now. Can't go to the tennis club and dinner's off the table. And that's the big thing that's rocking your boat, right? But then if you invented more problems, oh, gotta remember to pay that bill. Damn it, Judy needs new shoes. That becomes so insignificant, and everything else balances out. You become a little bit more happy because you're not bothered about the foot being sprained anymore or the ankle being sprained because you have all these other problems, and they're just problems of life. And this is why we do these things. And it's fascinating. You're a living example of that. I love that.
I love it, and I love the language of it as well. I have lots of people in my world who likes to pick up on language, and I've got one who is like, the universe is not testing you. You're not here to learn a lesson, because in her paradigm, like learning a lesson is like somebody teaching you a lesson, right? Like it's not a fun thing. Whereas in my world, I'm like, I want to learn everything. So learning is amazing. And similarly with the word problem, right? It's like, I'm not creating problems in as much as linking it to life being difficult or uncomfortable, only when the premise is that life's not supposed to be difficult or uncomfortable. But in my world, of course, it's supposed to be difficult and uncomfortable, and we want problems because actually they are stimulation, and it's that stimulation that is the whole point of life. And that brings it nicely round to you saying it's a game, right? Like it is, like if you're choosing the things that you're stimulated by and other things. I've learned, I have this thing that I see in one of my parents that I didn't like, and I have inherited it. And rather than going, no, I haven't, I've been really looking at it and going, okay, what is different about how I deal with this? And that is that autistic loop where something doesn't go to where you want it to be. Like the answer is, so let's say, for example, over Christmas, I needed to book flights to decide when I was going to come to England and when I was going to see my family. But the person I wanted to see wasn't available. And so I wouldn't book the flights because I couldn't have what I wanted. And so there was a cognitive no in my head, which I couldn't finish it. I couldn't move forward. And this happens quite a lot. And the person in my life who has this, they like to rewrite history or rewrite things so that it fits their narrative. And that can be hard. And so I've really promised myself that I'm not going to do that. I'm going to notice when I'm rewriting history, but I'm going to find another way to deal with this cognition loop, right? Where it's like, it's not what I want. Computer says no, I can't move forward. How can I move forward? And I've almost turned it into a game of like, how many other perspectives are there here? Like, if I was this person, how would I see this? If I was this person, how would I see it? So that I can move beyond that. No. Do you get that? No. Do you get that? Like,
It's a moment of inertia, right? So
yeah.
it's kind of like almost like a, a, a personal mental health problem of what people get as writer's block, right? They want to write this book, they sit down and write it. Everything in their being wants to write, but they can't do it. They get this moment of inertia. And it happens because we are not fully confident in our decision. We're not, sorry, we don't perceive ourselves deep down as being confident in the position that we have currently set ourselves in. We have something that's, uh, maybe you've got a slight fear of flying, right? For instance, right? So your subconscious mind will do things to create this resistance, and you'll get this loop because you're consciously actively trying to do this thing, but then there's something deep down that's kind of being like, and it's interesting. I want to go back to something you said. So I teach a lot of different courses, right? So I have a few different courses. One of my main courses, I just did one now called the Chaos to Confidence Blueprint. Only launched a couple of months ago. It's really good. It's crazy good. I'm so excited about it because I get to teach all the cool stuff. And one of the things we talk about is problems, and people say to me like, "How do you feel about problems?" I say, "Look, let's think about a problem like this. Problems don't exist." And people say, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I said, "Problems don't exist. A problem can only exist if a solution exists. That's how we know it's a problem, right? Because it's not the solution. The solution is the great thing, the positive thing, and the problem is the negative thing. So we say, so a problem can only exist if a solution exists. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at a problem per se. We're looking at potential towards a solution. And if we think about it like this, we never have problems. We have potentials towards solutions, which is what you're facing. This block is because we're looking at something as being potential a problem, but not actually being a solution. So if we're driving down the road, and it's a one-track road, we come to a boulder in the road.
Yeah.
And we say, shit, we've got a problem. We can't go past because there's a boulder there. Is there really a boulder there? Or is it giving us the ability to create potential solutions for this? And we're going to continue on foot. Do we move the boulder by hand? Can we phone somebody to move the boulder? Can we move the boulder with the car? And then it causes other ones, other problems, but they're not problems. They're the potentials for solutions for that one problem. And so you see, you have the systematic, solution-based idea. And then it comes back to something else where you were saying that people look at life like, oh, the blah, 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 the universe is. Let me tell you something. In school, we learn loads of stuff and then we get tested. In life, we get tested and we learn loads of things. Right? And then the interesting thing about this is I always remember this. Life is not happening to you, right? Nothing is happening to you. Life is happening for you. Life is happening because of you. Your ability to be who you are, we are the imagination of ourselves. Everything happens because we have. Like, we imagined ourselves into existence. We come from billions of years of stardust to being a kid, right? Where the fuck did we come from? So yeah, you've wished yourself into existence. And the only thing we have is the ability to understand ourselves, urging ourselves towards its existence. So that's what I'd say on that. That yes, you are in a loop, but you're only in a loop because you see the loop as a potential problem rather than a potential source solution. And I think that's really cool. I'm not saying that you only look at things, you're not saying you're a pessimist. I'm just saying that sometimes even optimists will just realize that things are problems. But there's no such thing as a problem. Problems are superfluous. Problems are created.
And I agree with you like 100% of the time, except, and there is one caveat.
Love
And
it.
like, there's a caveat, and I'm aware of the time. So I'm going to share the caveat, and then we're going to avoid having this
Okay.
conversation and go into the other bit. But the caveat for me,
Yeah.
unsurprisingly, as an Aspie person, is intimate relationship, right? Like, there are always solutions in my world until somebody else with the same level of life force
Yep.
meets me.
Very Tony Robbins of you.
But you know what? But I am in that
Yeah.
also in that situation, right? Like
Yeah.
I attracted a human into my world who is as full of life force as I am, and I could say as stubborn, as able to persevere, as opinionated, as whatever. And the bit that gets me is when things are not happening on my schedule or my timeline or with my world. And it's mostly around time, because in terms of perspective, I'm absolutely have learned and have so much appreciation for a range of perspectives. Time is my current thing where I'm like, I find I'm in a place with time at the moment where I've never had a grip on me on the reality of time that is the same as everybody else's. But I do really want it to happen on my timeline and not on other people's, particularly when they're slow.
Mm, mm. So that's there's the potential. The potential is okay. So how do we deal with that? You
Yeah.
take complete control of the situation. And
Mhm.
how do you take complete control of the situation? This is very funny. Do you know how you take complete control of the situation?
Please tell me.
You define the outcome that you want. Once you define the outcome you're searching for, you control the situation because you're not bothered about what happens in between. You just need to get to that succession. So people do this arguments. Classic example: people argue about stupid shit. And you don't have arguments with like a spouse and go on for like days, and you're like, "What are we even arguing about? I've lost sleep over something. It wasn't even the premise that we even started because we started arguing. We started talking about something. Both of us wanted a solution for. We didn't even know what the outcome was supposed to be. Define your outcome before any situation. You control it.
I love that. You're so wise. And I also see what happens in my control stuff, right? Like the whole
Mm.
point of relationships is that there is no controller. That's the game, right? Like it's really fun.
Yeah. Mm.
And
What's a
it's
shared equal responsibility, isn't it?
say that again.
It's a reciprocal shared equal responsibility.
100%. And when the outcome that we want is the same, but the timeline isn't, I do this thing where I try and control the outcome by saying, I'm going to leave then, or I'm going to go and do something else. And
Mm-hmm.
then, and I used to do this as a kid as well, and I recognize it as well, right? So I'm like, I can't wait for you. It's too hard for me. And so then I'll go off on my own, and then I'll get down the road and I'll be on my own and I'll do my
Be
own thing.
sad.
And then I'm like, I'm so bored and lonely.
Yeah.
And then I come back and I'm like, okay, I'll wait for you. But inside I'm going, this person won again. When do I get to win? When is it
Hell,
my
I hate it.
turn to win?
You will win. I think I think it's not a, how can I explain it? It's not, it's okay, here we go. Look, I have this mindset about that I apply it to business, but it can be applied to any part of your life. And it's this year. So I do an affirmation every year
Mhm.
that I use one word with my when I do my resolutions, my New Year's resolutions. I have a bunch of New Year's resolutions. I do a list of goals, list of resolutions.
Yeah.
And then and I'll tell you, I want to before we end this session, I want to talk about gratitude because I think it's really important for people to listen to this. But then I apply a word to it, and something that my partner said to me. She started doing it, and so I was like, I'm going to do this. So last year's word was hers. Oh, last year I got someone's tip my tongue. Anyway, I will tell you this year's word. This year's word is dominance.
Yes.
Not dominance like kinky bedroom stuff, right? Which is kind of fun anyway. But what I'm talking about is like is dominance in your life, and what this means is very simple. People say to me like, how do you like completely just like own a situation like with
Mhm.
social media? How do you build 250,000 subscribers on YouTube or 260,000? I say, do you know what I do? I don't compete. If you want to compete, you have the potential 50% of the time that you're going to lose, or 50% of the time you're going to win. I don't play with those odds. Do you know what I do? I dominate the situation. That way I always fucking win. Because if you come up short on dominance, you win. Kind of like this. If I say to you, I need to buy a new guitar, right? But it's $1,000. So if my goal was $1,000 and I came up short, I couldn't get the guitar. If my goal was $1,000, but sorry, the guitar cost $1,000, but my goal was $10,000. If I came up short on 10,000, I'll be able to buy three of the guitars, right?
Mhm.
That's how you win. That's how you dominate a situation. And the last thing I'll say is the gratitude list I do every day. Every single day I do a gratitude list. And I kind of like do like an affirmation thing. So like I pray, but not to like a Christian God, the whole kind of pray thing. And this is it. This is what people don't get about gratitude list. People put a shit ton of stuff on a gratitude list, but they never see the reward from the gratitude list because they miss out this one important factor. You have two columns in gratitude list. You have gratitude. You write down all the things that you're grateful for. But then you have another list. What am I going to do to maintain these things? I'm grateful for my partner. What am I going to do to keep it there? I'm going to work hard at being an honest, truthful, faithful, amazing partner and do everything I can. I am thankful for my job. What am I going to do to keep my job? I'm going to work hard every day at my job and make sure that I'm the one that's thinking about how to put myself out of business so nobody else does. I am grateful for the food that I have on my plate. How am I going to keep that there? I'm going to learn how to cook. I'm going to learn how to build, grow my own food, build my own kind of like, nature's garden. And I'm also going to work hard so I can always buy food for my family. There's two lists: gratitude and how I'm going to keep those things I'm grateful for. When you combine those together, that's how you win. And that's how you see the result in gratitude. People never do the second list.
I love that. Love it so much. I
Yeah,
often say to
thanks, man.
my people, um, so a lot of women find the concept of gratitude difficult because we are socialized into you should be grateful. So we're like, so it's
Oh, yeah, that's
yeah. So it's like
yeah, it's bullshit, right?
I don't feel grateful, and so we really push it away. And so instead, I call it an enjoyment list, right? Like enjoy, like what has brought you joy or allowed you to feel joy,
Hmm.
and then that second part of it is so cool.
That
Um,
is cool.
this has been really fun. Obviously, we could talk forever and ever and ever. If this is the first time that people are hearing you, where is the best place for them to come and find you and interact? And tell us about your books, courses, etc., which I will put in the show notes so it's all easy access.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate that. So you can find me at theaspieworld.com. So that's TheAspieWorld.com. And everything is linked on there. My podcast, which, by the way, is pretty big. I got my podcast, my YouTube channels, Instagram. I'm on every single social media platform you can possibly dream of. My book is called Autism for Adults. It is out now on Penguin Random House Audio. It's out on Hay House in the UK, and it's out on Page Street in the US. And it's great. It's a flipping great book. I love it. I think it took me 2 weeks to write the book, whilst running on a treadmill. I know it's so crazy. There's a full video on my channel about how I wrote the book. But anyway, it's amazing. But yeah, you can get my book from Amazon anywhere. And if you go to autismforadults.com, you can get the book, and you can also buy the course, which is only about, I think it's like $20 or something. I don't know. All my courses are available through my website. In the store, there'll be a little link there. So yeah, if you're interested, check it out. And I am so grateful that you asked me. Thank you.
I am too, and we are gonna move into the other part, and you're gonna answer some Snoopy nosy
Personal questions.
questions. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, man. The raunchier, the better. Thanks.